Hello, how do you do everyone, and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday the 22nd of August 2022. It's Gary here again, and you know what a topsy-turvy week we had last week following our great team, From the absolute highs and the resounding victories that we enjoyed the week before to 2-2 draws, if you know what I mean. That puts us in a tougher position than we'd have wanted to have been in, heading to Holland for essentially this week's cup final in terms of Champions League qualification against PSV, and it also puts us 2 points and 4 goals behind in the championship race already. So I don't want to sound panicky or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying at all, but I just feel the league table always looks better when you're at the top of it, looking down on everyone else. So to drop our first points of the season in only the 4th game it's just a bit of a downer, I guess, is really what I'm saying. So before we get to the game segment for this week, I did want to acknowledge a very big fan of the pod who lodged a formal complaint last week after listening to the episode that we published last week, and it was Chloe Carey from my home club here in Calgary wrote me a stinging text, basically ripping me a new one because I didn't mention that she was the one who showed me the best way to pour a pint when I was bartending in Pinbar a couple of weekends ago. I totally understand and know firsthand that it is disappointing when someone does something nice and it doesn't get the public acknowledgement or praise or recognition that it deserves. So I'm going to hold my hands up on this one and say I'm very sorry, Chloe. You were a wonderful help, and if it wasn't for you, everyone would have gotten half a pint of beer and half a pint of foam every single time. I hope that satisfies things for her for this week, and I guess I'll find out on Thursday or Friday or Saturday or whenever she gets round to listening to it. Anyway, on to the game segment for this last week, and as I alluded to just a wee while ago there, it was a wee bit different to what I shared last week in terms of the excitement around the enormity of the results that we had achieved the week before. So let's start with Tuesday's really tense and pretty entertaining 2-2 draw at Ibrox with PSV Eindhoven. Now, firstly, all I read on Sky News is that there are droughts all over the UK, all over the world, but all over the UK. Then I tune in to the game and it is absolutely bucketing down with rain the whole entire game. And even when the captains were lining up to exchange pendants at the beginning, they were already completely drenched. Now, this actually would have an impact on the game overall, as it turns out. Not too much going on in the very, very early stages until a flashing cross comes in that we kind of should have dealt with a wee bit quicker on Bournemouth's side. And then their main man, Luc de Jong, ghosted past our pretty static defence, and that would also be a bit of an impact on the game. But he blasted his shot over or wide or wherever it was he blasted it to, and that was a bit of a let-off early, and he really should have scored that one, to be perfectly honest. And that was pretty much all he did in the whole game, apart from trying to kind of roughhouse our players for basically the entire game and prove himself a little bit of a petulant arsehole, really, to be honest. So that said, we do know his quality, and I was secretly hoping that he'd get a red card at the end so that he would miss next week's game, or this week's game I should say, if I'm being honest. But we always want to play the best, so maybe not. Not a lot of positives from us in the first 20 minutes or so, but from then on I really thought we grew into the game and we started a period of possession and kind of just probing and peppering their goal a wee bit. And then just when things are looking good for us, we give away a corner, and that usual sinking feeling of I wonder what new and novel disaster this defence can conjure up at this set piece sets in. And yes, we did indeed find a way to lose a goal from a set piece once again. And to be fair, this one was unlucky. The ball swung over and I don't know if it skimmed off one of the front players or something like that, and then it kind of just hit Goldson and breaks to their fella to lash it in from inside the box. If I was being a wee bit overcritical, I kind of wonder what Goldson was even trying to do, hitting the ball the way that he did. I know that it just kind of hit him and he just kind of reacted the way that he did. But I do believe this one was an element of bad luck, as I say. And then 3 minutes later, we had an absolutely sensational, brilliant move that resulted in some incisive passing and led to the equaliser from my new main man, Antonio Cholak. What a brilliant goal that was, eh? Just incredible. And their lead lasted for 3 minutes. And in the middle of the second half, we got a free kick a wee bit outside their penalty area, and up steps Tom Lawrence. And even had the annoying commentator that we had here on DAZN in Canada say something like, surely he's not going to hit it from there, or something equally as judgy as that. And hit it he did, and it kind of bounced just before their goalie. Skimmed, the rain I mentioned earlier had a bit of an impact on the game, and their goalie had an absolute nightmare, spilling it into his own net. I mean, I think he stunned himself, because he never even reacted quickly after it or anything. It was just kind of super slow motion. But what an absolute howler the boy had, thankfully, and that was 2-1, and we're starting to dare to dream a wee bit. Unfortunately, our lead lasted only the 8 minutes, and then they get a corner. Yes, that same feeling comes back again, swing it in, and the guy just scores with relative ease, as Connor Goldson is completely posted missing. But not only him, to be fair, I know I've mentioned him a couple of times now, but just I don't know, like absolute amateur hour on the defending. And it just feels like every single time a team has a set piece against us and a ball can be punted into our box, that it's just carnage, it's just mayhem, and it's not cool, and it's not organised, and it's definitely not good for our nerves as fans, is it? So it would be kind of good if we stopped that, wouldn't it? I hope we really get that organised prior to Wednesday's return leg. John McLaughlin did indeed make a great stop later in the game to keep it finally balanced at 2-2, and so Wednesday's game is a literal winner takes all now, and I'll get to that just in a wee second here. So positives from the match, I think we matched them all over the pitch. That, and the fact that our 2 players who were already on yellow cards, like I talked about last week, didn't get booked in this game, so everyone is available for this Wednesday. And to be dead honest, this is a good team, but so are we. So I didn't really see anything to fear from them that makes me doubt that we have a genuine, incredible chance to progress to the group stages for the first time since 2010. I did get my dates right last week when I mentioned that. PSV will know that they have their work cut out to progress. I don't think there was there was anything that they were holding back or anything like that at Ibrox, and we already know that we have enough in our locker to beat teams like this away from home. We've done it already this year, so bring it on and let the best team win, as long as it is Rangers, of course. Negatives: our defending at set pieces needs to be better. As I mentioned earlier, they'll be pretty happy, I imagine, and inspired by the way their 2 goals came about, and I'm sure they'll try to exploit that in the return leg here. And I've always said throughout the times doing these podcasts that the first leg is about giving us a result that will give us a real chance to progress to the next round in the second leg. And while we got that with the 2-2, I would have loved to have been going there with a lead to protect, but maybe I'm just being greedy now based on the balance of play from the game. The referee watch, the ref let a lot of the roughhouse tactics from De Jong, however you pronounce it, go, and then books Connor Goldson for his first foul, which is kind of stupid in my opinion, to be dead honest. But other than that, from what I recall, he did try to let the game flow and play advantage when he could, and sometimes when there was very obviously no advantage to be had. But other than that, I think he was in control. So for that, he gets a, what does he get? He gets a 7 out of 10. Let's give him that for his performance, because the referee watch on the next game I'm going to talk about is nowhere near a 7, I can tell you that. So on to our second game, which was Saturday's 2-2 roller coaster of a game at Easter Road against Diet Celtic, and it started frantically, and by that I mean that I realised at kick-off that I forgot to redeem my individual RTV voucher, like we lecture everyone else to do. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. And then when I got the game on, Hibs were doing what they always do against us, which was absolutely bursting a gut, chasing every ball, and basically playing like this was their last game in life. And I just, honestly, folks, I just think that's blatant cheating, like cheating themselves, cheating their fans, the sponsors, the club hierarchy, everyone. How can you get so up for a game against us after meekly rolling over against Livy the week before? it's all too common in Scottish football. I talked about this last week, of course, as well. You know, give 100% in every single game, and you won't hear any complaints from me. But the only team I seem to get up for is Rangers. It's just pathetic, truly, honestly pathetic, actually. And anyway, so lots of hustle and bustle, but hardly any goalmouth action in the first half until it was almost over. Then their defender had a stupid tug at Cholak's shirt, which was absolutely needless because the ball was going nowhere near him, and it earns us a penalty and gets him a yellow card. And Tab's penalty was once again world class, and we're up 1-0 at the break and feeling pretty good about life. We then start the second half at a slow tempo, and that's definitely a thing with this team now. And I'm guessing Gio's tactic is just to wait and see what they do and then react, because that seems to be what's happening a lot. Although, to be fair, he did rubbish that notion that was an actual tactic in the interview after the PSV game midweek, because Tav gets stripped of the ball. The boy puts the ball across into an area where Rangers have a very large goalkeeper and two defenders just on it, and for some bizarre reason none of them can get to the ball, and Boyle just comes and pokes it in. Like, come on, man, that's just, again, amateur hour defending. Replicating Tuesday night, we have a brilliant move featuring fantastic passing all over the pitch, and culminates in Borna Barisic putting just one of those dream balls in right onto Lawrence's head to restore our 1-goal lead. And Lawrence is a goal machine right now, isn't he? And and it's looking like we're going to add to that as the game progresses. I thought there was only going to be one winner at that point. Up steps Willie Collum, and he decides to exert his influence on the game, and the SPFL Premiership League Championship title race by inexplicably red carding John Lundstrom for a foul almost identical, probably less cynical actually, to that which he booked Jake Doyle-Hayes in the first half. And of course Jake Doyle-Hayes fouls Lundstrom for that foul as well, and it was a professional foul. I mean, no attempt to get the ball, we understand that, worthy of a yellow card, and he was the closest guy to it and could not get his red card out quick enough, and Lundstrom was shocked. The whole team was shocked and stuff. So I don't know if he's reacted to the player screaming blue murder. I don't know if he's reacted to the other players getting a wee bit agitated by it, or whatever it is, but he couldn't get his red card out of his pocket quick enough. That's a theme. Stay tuned on this one. 9 minutes later, he does the exact same again and gives Alfredo Morelos a straight red for what looked like a stupid lash out. That I know has caused a bit of debate about whether it should or shouldn't have been a red. I thought it was harsh, you know, watching it real time, and then on replay, he does lash out a wee bit and kind of, I don't know, kind of catches it, like slaps the boy sort of thing. And it just felt like it, when I watched it on replay, like the old Alfie had returned. And I just hope the linesman, who I think on this occasion was the infamous Francis O'Connor again, by the way, I just hope he's okay, because he just couldn't get that flag up and wave it quick enough or hard enough, and he was waving and waving and waving it, and I'm just wondering if he maybe done something to his neck or something like that afterwards. Such was the fervour which he was doing that with. And then likewise, Collum once again couldn't wait to brandish the red out, and his job is done for the day. He's mastering this. I mentioned this on a couple of pods before. He's mastering this running and getting his red card out for a Rangers player at the same, like all in the same motion. It's very smooth. You know, give him credit for that. And he did his job for the day. He got 2 players off, and then it's up to Hibs. And we lasted incessant pressure. Not a whole lot of goalmouth attempts, to be honest, but, you know, incessant pressure for about 20 minutes or so. And just as I was daring to dream that we were actually going to pull it off, the ball kind of breaks to their boy. He pops a great strike past McLaughlin. McLaughlin was completely unsighted for it, and it's 2-2. And I don't mind admitting I was a tad upset with myself at that moment, because just seconds earlier I'd said to Erin, the problem could be if they score one now, they might score another and we'll get nothing from this game, and then he pops it in. So I gave myself, quite honestly, a rather bizarre and stupid shouting too. I literally shouted at myself for what I'd said, because in some way I thought that was my fault from 4,000 miles away, that jinxed the team, and 2-2 was how it ended. Ah dear. Positives: 9 men with 20 minutes to go and we still managed to get a point. Would we have taken that in the 70-odd minute? Probably. Some of our play was excellent at times, and we stood up to them when we needed to. Negatives: Our defending for the first goal was poor, and our inability to take a shot when we have one is actually starting to get on my nerves now. You know, we talk about this kind of, you know, cliche of trying to walk it into the net and stuff, but boy, oh boy, was that the case that we did on Saturday there. You know, and I sincerely hope this isn't coached behaviour, and I don't think it is, because at one point when Ken had an opportunity to go through, kind of cut inside, maybe get a shot away, he kind of stopped and waited for support to come, and then it went straight to Gio on the bench, and he was really giving Kent the gears when he opted not to take the guy on. So it doesn't feel like it's coached, so I'm not exactly 100% sure why it just seems to have crept in on that one game. I just wish we'd have a game where we said, right, boys, shoot from anywhere. You never know how it's going to turn out, and if our shooting's off, we can adjust as the game goes on. But it seems to be the opposite that we do. And finally, on the negatives was the result. You know, I thought honestly, as I said earlier, that we were cruising at 2-1, and then we all witnessed what happened. Okay, on to the referee watch. Willie Collum is one of the most biased, incompetent referees in the Scottish game. And the irony about this is I was actually praising him after the first half for his overall handling of the game and giving the yellows when he needed to, apart from one blatant one that he chose to completely ignore for some reason when Barisic got emptied on the touchline not too long before the end of the half. But at half time, he's on his way to a very high number on the referee watch for this week, and then he just completely ruined a good game with some decisions that quite honestly give me great cause for concern, and made me believe that he's actually literally cheating the guy, because that's the only thing that makes sense to me. I'm not going to go any further with that. I'm not going to waste any more time on this clown, but I truly believe he did his job in the second half. But unfortunately, the job he did wasn't in the interests of fair play or sportsmanship or integrity or anything like that. The guy's just an utter disaster. So because of that, he gets a 0.5 out of 10, and that he only gets that because he managed to put his whole kit on before the game, and that's what you get for putting your kit on, a 0.5. His performance was disgusting, and you know that, well, by now you know that we're officially appealing Lundstrom's red. I'll be shocked to my core if that doesn't get overturned, and apparently the club are still considering whether to appeal Alfie's too. I can see the argument on both sides for Alfie's. I was just annoyed that he gave the referee the decision to make. You know, the referees are just dying to book a red card, this guy, and I believe it. I think I read today that that's his 8th red card for us. That's a problem. That's not cool at all. So that was last week. 2 games this week, starting with Wednesday's winner takes all UEFA Champions League playoff round qualifier away to PSV Eindhoven, and that's a 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff on Wednesday. That's 8 p.m. UK. Interestingly, I don't know if you caught it. I don't know what commentators were on what feeds, but the commentator kind of mentioned something about a free weekend or something like that. Like they're not playing, and I looked it up afterwards, and PSV didn't have a game this past weekend, and I don't know why. I don't know if it was just a normal schedule decision or if they were given some special dispensation to have the weekend off to prep for Wednesday. But either way, they weren't involved in a tiring war like we were, so I don't know how that plays out for the teams come game time. Do we have momentum going into the game, and that's going to bode us well? Do they have more rest coming in and they're going to be fresher? Who knows? I guess we'll see. I did a wee bit of a prediction last week and said it'll be an entertaining game, and suggested it was either going to be 2-2 or 3-2 as a win for us, and I was right. I was right with the 2-2. For this week, I have to say that I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to navigate the atmosphere, play to our strengths, and take our chances when they come. And that'll give us the pathway to the group stages. I don't know what the score's going to be. I've got 2-1 to us in my head, but I'm not 100% sure we're going to lose a goal, to be honest. I really, really, really hope that's the case and that we can do this. How amazing would it be to hear that Champions League music at Ibrox another at least 3 times this season, and of course the riches and everything, and prestige, and probably players that we will be able to access before the transfer window closes. That would all be at our behest if we get that. So here's hoping. Second game is a home league match on Saturday against Ross County and that's the 27th of August, and we're back to a reasonable kickoff time again, with this one being 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's 3 p.m. UK kickoff. So Ross County had started the league with 3 straight defeats, but they did enjoy the first win of the season on the weekend there with a late winner at home to Kilmarnock, which is always nice to see. You know how I feel about Kilmarnock. So like St Johnstone a couple of weekends ago, we show up, we do our jobs, we apply ourselves, we win this match. So, and if we can batter in a bunch of goals and hopefully kind of claw back at least some of the 4 that were behind already, that would be kind of nice as well. For RTV, other than my own personal faux pas, we did enjoy another successful broadcast on the weekend, as far as I could tell from the feedback that we got. We did get shut down very, very quickly at the end of the game, with 0 replays or thoughts of Tom Miller and Andy Little, which I thought was kind of interesting. We haven't done that before, and I know that we're all now on the kind of games only coverage, or the voucher covers only, the games only for both club and individual, but cutting it off right at the end felt a bit extreme. We didn't see the players shake hands, we didn't see the referee come off the pitch, we didn't see any of that. And I did reach out to RTV to find out what that was all about, like why that happened, but didn't get a response from them. It was just over text, so maybe I should have done it on email, so they might not have missed it. But I'll try and find out if that's going to be a theme for Sky televised games, or for early kickoffs, or for games that are away from home, or for games that Rangers TV don't have the exclusive rights for, or something like that. But I haven't seen it like that before, and it was just quite sudden, to the point where I'm kind of like, is my TV working? You know, like that sort of thing. For shout outs, I would like to give a shout out to whomever put a story onto the Heart and Hands RBR, the Jack and Colin show, Prankies 2 is what it was called, which was the lads on the pod reading out about a variety of pranks that people have done over the years. You know, listeners would send them in, and I got a text from Rangers Supporters Club of Calgary member Ross Irwin saying you should listen to this at around 29 minutes. And I kind of brushed it off because I don't listen to the show, to be honest, and I didn't know what he was talking about, to be honest. And then he said, it's about you, so then of course I want to hear that. So it detailed a story from 2016 where I got pranked, an absolute topper, probably the best one actually I've ever been caught with. And I'll tell you the clean version here, but if you want a more accurate version of what was actually said, go and check out their show on the network if you subscribe, and then you can see what it's all about. I have to say, very funny. So I'll give you what they say over here, the Coles notes, which means an abbreviated version. But a couple of things to start. 2 things that really annoy me. Lots of things really annoy me, but 2 things specifically. Calling me Gary Gillian. Gillian is not my last name. There's no second I in there. It's Gillen, Gary Gillen. And then referring to NARSA as NASA, right? So Gary Gillian and NASA. So on this day, 2016, so the key part of this here is that the convention was in Vancouver in 2016. So I go pick up Leo from his mum's, and I'm driving back over. We're heading into Safeway supermarket to get our shopping in for the week, and then I get a phone call from a BC number. And it's a Canadian person. I don't have the number in my phone, but I see it's area code 604. I says, well, that's a BC number. I better answer that. There might be something to do with the convention. Trying to be diligent in that. And then I get this guy saying, hello, Mr. Gillian. And I says, yes, well, it's Gillen. He says, okay, Mr. Gillian, we've had a situation here where people have left the bar. They were in with kilts on, and they kept mentioning NASA. And I understand that you're the chairman of NASA. And I says, well, it's NARSA. It's NARSA. He says, okay, well, Mr. Gillian, you need to, I says, it's Gillen. And he says, okay, Mr. Gillian, you need to fix this. You need to kind of pay the bill. And I says, well, who was there? 4 guys were there in kilts. So there was a bunch of guys there for Big John Kelly's wedding. And so they're just sitting about having a few beers on the Sunday or the Monday, whatever day it was. Scotland were playing Germany. And I don't know if it was a World Cup qualifier or a European qualifier or something like that. And so then they're just sitting about saying, who should we wind up? I know, why don't we wind up Gary? So then this call goes on for a wee while. I says, look, I think I know who it is. Let me just contact the guys. So then I start to contact the guys. Oh, I wasn't there. contact Callum. Callum says, oh, I haven't been out all day. Contact Ross, contact Kyle, contact Bob, contact whomever it is. So the more I contact these guys, the more irate that I'm getting, and my language was kind of choice at that point. And then all of a sudden I'm in Safeway at this point. And then I got a FaceTime call. I can't remember who the FaceTime call was from. Maybe it was Ross. And then all the guys are there on FaceTime. And then the guy who actually did it was a guy called Scott Salmon. I mentioned I was at a wedding a few weeks back for Scott and Shane. And it was Scott, the guy, I just didn't have his number at the time. And he originally was from BC. So I see the guys, they're all calling me Mr. Jilly, and they're all shouting NARSA and all that sort of thing. And I have to admit, I did burst out laughing. It was an absolute peach and expertly executed. So when you get pranked good and proper, you have to take a step back, admire the ingenuity, the creativity, and the execution, and just give it a round of applause. And that's what I'm doing right now, just by telling you folks and listening to it. And Jack and Colin reading out the version, because they said, right, who do you, they kind of role played, you're going to be the guy from the bar and you'll be Gary and that sort of thing. And it was absolutely hilarious. So well done again, lads. I don't know who actually sent it into those folks, but if you don't listen to that, you should go listen to that one. It's a beauty, absolute beauty. And just a wee quick shout out to my love Erin's kids, 2 of her kids who are celebrating birthdays this week. Firstly, little Jackson turns 9 tomorrow on Tuesday, and Alexis turns 11 on Saturday. So all of the kids, yeah, there's more than just those 2, are joining us on Saturday at a game that I'll talk about in just a wee bit here. But happy birthday, troops, and we'll see you on the weekend. For the convention update, I can officially confirm it's 297 days. We're in the 200s now, and 42 weeks to go until Toronto Midtown hosts the biggest bash of the overseas Rangers calendar, and I'm really looking forward to that. We did indeed have our kick-off meeting with the hotel last Tuesday morning, as I'd mentioned last week, and it was a great chat, getting to know the folks that we'll be dealing with for the next 10 months and getting some early stage logistics sorted through. And one main thing that's really on my mind right now, has been for quite some time since we signed the contract, quite honestly, is that we just couldn't negotiate down the prices of the beer like we typically have done in years gone past. It wasn't for the want of trying, let me tell you, but they just couldn't budge. You know, that the sales lassie was very, very adamant about that, and not in a you know, a conflict type situation. She's saying we just can't, like, that this is the way the world is right now. However, we did insert a clause into the contract saying that this would be an area of focus for us as we closed in on the event, to try and get the pricing structure lower so that our guests are comfortable with where we land on the pricing. So that was a main topic of the conversation with the hotel last week, and we will continue to dialogue about this as we move forward. So after the meeting, we also did the introductions between the Sheraton Centre Toronto, the hotel staff, and Rosie from our travel partner, the Holiday and Flight Centre. So this is another significant step in our journey towards a workable model for all-in travel packages for our guests, and I'll hopefully have more to share on the progress of that in the next week or so. We did hope to launch the travel packages around about now, but like every good project, I say this as a seasoned project manager, we're a wee bit behind the times in the early stages, but we will definitely catch up for sure. So more to follow on that. And we met with Andy Burnett and John Dalrymple, which I think we've got permission to call him JD as well, because apparently everybody apart from Andy in the Toronto Midtown Club is called John. So JD it is. We met them last Tuesday night to walk through their progress to date on the football, the golf, and the overall entertainment. Another great chat with the guys, and these guys are really giving me a sense of confidence. Honestly, they are, that they know what they want to do and they know what to do to make it happen as well. So we don't have anything absolutely concrete yet, just in terms of being able to share actual booking details and event details and the like, but we're definitely getting closer, and we'll likely be meeting with the crew there on a monthly basis going forward. So yeah, feeling really good about this one now, and now that we have a wee bit of tangibility attached and some forward momentum as well. So more to follow when we know a little bit more as well. So on to the communication section, rapid fire stuff following the communication for this week, and it really genuinely is rapid fire because there's only one story kind of worthy of sharing for you this week, and even that is absolutely quick as well. So last week there was a very brief article on the Rangers website stating RIFC has raised injunction proceedings in the US to prevent a US entity and its principal falsely claiming it has been authorised by Rangers to sell shares in RIFC and using Rangers IP, intellectual property, for that purpose. That was all it said. One sentence. So I did reach out to the club to try and get some details on who this US entity was so that I could provide, you know, a little bit of a friendly warning to our listeners here stateside, but unfortunately I didn't manage to get the information that I was hoping for. So as it stands right now, I know just as much as you do based on the one sentence statement that was issued. But if I do get details on that, I'll certainly make sure that I mention it for next week. But I think it's safe to say that if anyone is selling Rangers shares, it would be Rangers, and we would kind of know about that from more official channels as well. So good for Rangers for doing that. I wouldn't have minded just a wee bit more information though. On the memorabilia associated with the Rangers 72 film, I still need to get back to the fellow that I was dealing with, Hayden, to see how we can actually access that merchandise as well. So I'm going to try and maybe try and send that email tonight if I can, and then hopefully have something to share on that. I know I'm really dragging my arse on this one, sorry folks. And then just a wee quickie just to share on the Rangers Supporters Club of Calgary front. This weekend we're having a wee bit of a social get together at the Calgary Cavalry game, which is the local football team here in Calgary who play in the Canadian Premier League, and a bunch of us are heading down there. That's on a bus run by the Ship and Anchor pub, which is just across from the Pinbar and up a wee bit. And I think it's around about $40 for your game ticket, which includes obviously your game ticket and the bus to and from the game, and a pint in the Ship and Anchor as well. So this was organised by my lovely sister Debbie, and it looks like it's going to be a great day. But what's even better about it is we can enjoy us smashing Ross County just before it, then have a couple of pints poured by yours truly, coached by Chloe Carey, just to be super clear, and then we can head across the street for the game preparation. So this is going to be an epic day. So I'll share a wee bit more about that, and that's the one where Erin and the kids are joining us as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun for them to share on the birthday. So in part 6 of the folks who support, encourage, tolerate, create space for, and sometimes work on NARSA related things with your NARSA executive members, I'm delighted to tell you that our very own, what can I call Billy? The utility man. He's certainly been that the last few years. Our convention director, Billy Ferguson. Billy kindly, finally, provided some wise words for us in terms of his support network. And I didn't even have to pester him too much for that this past week. Kinda, sorta. But a wee bit of background on my working experience with Billy. Billy's been a mainstay of my entire tenure with the NARSA executive. I joined the executive actually in absentia in 2012. The convention was hosted in the Bahamas, and I couldn't make it along that year, but I was voted in as vice president by acclamation at the time, and Billy was sworn in for what was the second of 2 terms that he has served as NARSA president at the same time as well. We had met a couple of times at previous conventions, so we were aware of each other, but this was the first time that we were formally working together, and we've been working together closely ever since, and that's 10 years since. And as Billy, in that time, Billy has filled a variety of roles, as I mentioned. The utility man there, you know, he's been president. I believe before my tenure, he was secretary for quite some time. President, past president. He filled in for Southeast Rep when we had a resignation down there, or it was unfilled. I can't remember exactly what happened. And an assistant secretary up until the last AGM, where he was then changed over to convention director. So very, very well-rounded experience for us on the executive, and you know, a wise head to have around and give us some context of things that we just don't have, you know, as the kind of newer members of the board. And I have to say, on reflection, what a 10 years and counting it's been. The amount of change that we've experienced as NARSA, you know, for NARSA as an organisation, for the club even, you know, in fact, you know, the amount of incidents, the amount of drama, the amount of people challenges, the amount of people coming and going, it's been absolutely incredible. And not to mention the fact that, you know, that for many of those early years we were trying to figure out how we as NARSA fitted in and contributed to the resurgence of Rangers after a demotion to the lower leagues, basically that summer, actually, because it was 2012, as I mentioned. So I can tell you that was not a fun time at all for anyone concerned, but it did test our resolve. And I put my phone just rang there, so I don't know if it paused any. Hopefully it didn't, but it rang. But I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, so I don't quite know what happened there. My apologies. But it did test our resolve anyway, in dedication to the cause of Rangers Football Club, and we never once wavered. In fact, the NARSA went taking it from strength to strength during that time, as everyone started to really kind of think about what they wanted to do from a Rangers fan perspective, and we got a lot more clientele visiting us at the conventions and the like. So here's what Billy said. Moving on to my 22nd year in the exec, prior to working behind the scenes supporting Tam Plunkett, John Miller, Bobby Smith and David Murray. I mean, these are NARSA royalty just there. Their vision of NARSA then was what I wanted to be part of, more of a labour of love rather than an actual job. I spent countless hours driving up and down the 401 corridor from Detroit to Toronto, attending NARSA meetings and, more importantly, supporting the local RSC who was hosting the meeting. Really fun times, and some of the stories told while driving in the car were extremely funny. Tam Plunkett's borrowing the Russian cop's bearskin hat while watching the game in Moscow led to him being kinda arrested, and bribing his release with some UK pounds was hysterical. Attending all of the meetings, the social night outings and the conventions couldn't be made possible without the support of my immediate family. I'm blessed that my wife Therese served on the board and gets what it means to serve the NARSA membership, so I'm extremely lucky in that I don't need to plan anything in advance in attending anything to do with NARSA. We just do it. Extremely proud of the current NARSA exec team. The evolution of what we were to what we are today is amazing. Long may it continue. Well said, Billy. 22 years. Wow, that's an incredible amount of time to spend on anything, let alone a volunteer hobby, and it just goes to show that the draw of Rangers Football Club to Billy, Therese and the Ferguson family. So to Therese and Billy's immediate family for all the support, thank you so much from me and the entire NARSA family for supporting Billy and everything that he does for our association. Now, I have mentioned in the previous two pods about Alan McWatt and Alec Grant's travelling, and Billy is also in this exclusive club as well. For his job, it seems like Billy's on the road 95% of the time. I know he's just switched jobs recently, so it may be a wee bit less now. So he is in illustrious company there in terms of his travel. And like with the other guys, at the beginning of each call I have to ask, like, where are you in the world tonight? Kind of literally and figuratively sort of thing. But, I travelled a wee bit to Seville, to Vegas, and then home to Scotland between May and June. And I'm still feeling sluggish and not caught up, really, even 2 months later. So it's obviously these guys are made of sterner stuff than I am. I don't know how they can do it. But again, folks, this is just a wee opportunity to give everyone a sneak peek into who's behind the folks that make this machine work. Now we have one exec member to go, and that's now only Fraser Muir, our communications director. Yes, you heard it right. Our communications director is not communicating with me, but hopefully we'll get something from him this week. And then I will do my wee bit, and then we can wrap this part up. Okay, that will do it for this week, my friends. As always, thank you very, very much for taking the time to listen. Please do share it with whomever you think might enjoy it. And until next week, here's to two very, very, very important games. I know I say that every single week, but Wednesday's winner takes all. This is a game changer. This could be a game changer for the club, so I really, really hope we do it. Here's hoping. Please do take care, folks, and all the very best. Bye. Cheerio.